Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today, we will present about UiTM student perception on the use of TikTok application as an educational tools. First of all, I will introduce our team members that consist by Anis Amira, Amirul Hakim, Wan Shazwana, Nur Farhanis, and the last is me, Muhammad Shamilaiman bin Mazlan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Mirakim bin Nur Emizan. My metric number is 2021871694. So today I would like to start our presentation with my segment, which is chapter 1, the introduction. So I would like to first go through the background of the study. So the use of digital tools has become more widespread in higher education nowadays, completely changing the way that traditional teaching approaches are taught. That's why we want to make a study and research about TikTok, useness of TikTok in educational tools. So by knowing how UiTM students view TikTok's educational potential, teachers, lecturers can learn about creative ways to present the curriculum. So instead of normal or traditional, which is in the classroom way of teaching and lecturing, by using TikTok, this can widespread and increase the effectiveness of the lecturing, and that's why this research is important to understand how UiTM students view TikTok's educational potential. And by doing this experiment or research, a quantitative approach will be used in the study to collect detailed information on the experience and viewpoints of UiTM students through the use of both questionnaire and survey. So by distributing the questionnaire as a quantitative method, we can know how or what the student feel about using TikTok as the educational tools, and the result of the study could help develop methods for successfully incorporating TikTok into teaching methods that meet the needs and preferences of modern students. Because of nowadays the Generation Z and Generation Alpha more into the TikTok, so we need to know how to use TikTok as one of the medium for teaching and as educational tools. Okay, for the next slide is about the problem statement, which is 1.2 in chapter 1 in the introduction. So although social media applications are being used in classrooms more and more, there is still a significant knowledge vacuum regarding how students view particular platforms, such as in this context is TikTok as instructional resources. So we want to know, although there is some teaching method that using social media, we want to know how the effectiveness and how student feels about especially in UiTM Perlis, how they feels about using TikTok in this context as the educational tool. And the specific issue is the paucity of empirical data regarding UiTM student perceptions, perceived feelings, effects, and engagement using TikTok in assessing their academic pursuits. So we want to know how students feel, or the feeling of the student about using the TikTok as the educational tools, and this can be connected with the students' perception, which is perceived feelings, effects, and engagement when they're using the TikTok as the educational tools. And by focusing in these three crucial components, which is the IV, independent variable, we hope to create a true framework that will improve our knowledge of education as a whole and give educators and administrators insightful guidance when integrating digital platform like TikTok into modern UiTM teaching methods. So by focusing on these three components, which is the students' perceived feelings, engagement and effects. So we want to know how we can first increase the efficiency of using the TikTok as the educational tools, and how that these three components connected with the feelings of the students when using TikTok as the educational tools in this research. Okay, for the next slide is about the problem statement, which is 1.2 in chapter 1 in the introduction. So although social media applications are being used in classrooms more and more, there is still a significant knowledge vacuum regarding how students view particular platforms, such as in this context is TikTok as instructional resources. So we want to know, although there is some teaching method that using social media, we want to know how the effectiveness and how student feels about the, especially in UiTM Perlis, how they feels about using TikTok in this context as the educational tool. And the specific issue is the paucity of empirical data regarding UiTM student perceptions, perceived feelings, effects, and engagement using TikTok in assessing their academic pursuits. So we want to know what how students feel, or the feeling of the student about using the TikTok as the educational tools, and this can be connected with the students' perception, which is perceived feelings, effects, and engagement when they're using the TikTok as the educational tools. And by focusing in these three crucial components, which is the IV, independent variable, we hope to create a true framework that will improve our knowledge of education as a whole and give educators and administrators insightful guidance when integrating digital platform like TikTok into modern UiTM teaching methods. So by focusing on these three components, which is the students' perceived feelings, engagement and effects, so we want to know how we can first increase the efficiency of using the TikTok as the educational tools, and how that these three components connected with the feelings of the students when using TikTok as the educational tools in this research. For the next slide is about the significance of study, which is 1.5, and the limitation of the study, which is 1.6. So, significance of study. Why did we need to conduct this research, and why this research is important? So, firstly, it is important because of the government, which is the government push for digital learning and innovation in the education sector, which is consistent with the use of the TikTok in the classroom. By conducting this study, it can help on bridging the educational gaps and reaching larger audiences, especially in rural or undeserved area. Government can support formal and informal learning by using TikTok as their digital education initiative. So next is for the campus. So because of this study is focusing on the audience of in UiTM Perlis, from the study and feedback from students, TikTok can be a very effective teaching tool used by UiTM in engaged students, and they can attract more students by using TikTok as the educational and medium tools. It can support collaborative learning among students, enable interactive learning experiences, and provide a forum for the exchange of teaching materials. Short and engaging videos can be created by professors and instructors, lecturers to show campus life, hold virtual discussions, break down difficult concepts, increase student engagement, and build community spirit between the students and the lecturers. And lastly is for the public. TikTok is a useful tool to reach a large public audience because of the accessibility and popularity. TikTok's educational content can spread awareness about various issues, educate users about various topics, and offer easy to read information about various topics. So by three point that been said, which is spread awareness, educate, and offer easy to read, this also can be implemented in teaching the UiTM students. It can increase accessibility and engagement in learning by bridging the gap between the general public and formal educational institution. So for the next point, 1.6, which is the limitation of study. So what limitation we face and what difficulties we face while conducting these studies. First is the limitation of the sample size. The sample size and unique circumstances of Universiti Teknologi Mara Cawangan Perlis may have impact on the studies conclusion. Because since this particular institution student participated in the research, it's possible that result cannot be applied to other learning environments. Because of this is a small scale of research, so it can only be concluded for UiTM students, especially in UiTM Perlis, and not for the overall institutional education. Next is the potential response bias. The study relies primarily on self-reported data from questionnaires. Response bias may be introduced because of this is a quantitative method. By conducting a quantitative method and distributing response survey, the response might be biased based on the students. And this leading to the student to give answer that reflect socially acceptable norms rather than reflecting their actual emotions or actions. And lastly is the limitation toward variables. So there is a possible impact of outside variables that were not taken into account in the study, such as the students' prior experience learning through the TikTok app. Because of different experiences will come out with different results in the survey, as well as individual influences or alternative teaching strategies that might have an impact on their motivation to study. So that's all from me on how or the introduction for this research. Lastly, the measure of the areas of interest of the study are how students feel about their perception using TikToks, how they use the TikTok app, and how their perceptions affect their learning. So that's all from me. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah.
Hi, my name is Anis Amira binti Arba'in. So now I will further explaining regarding our literature review for chapter 2. In this section, we will review and discuss the previous related articles and study where the outcome or response variable that the researcher we as a researcher measures or observe is known as the dependent variable and independent variable. When the independent variable is changed, this variable is anticipated to change as well. Where the study dependent variable is the student's perceptions of using TikTok application. It is essential to understand that how TikTok applications affect students' educational experience since it is the variable that is predicted to be impacted or influenced by changes in the independent variables. Student perceptions on the use of TikTok application describe an investigations of the attitudes, viewpoint, convictions, and general perspective that students have about using the TikTok application in a variety of settings, especially in the classroom. TikTok is a social media that allows its user to upload video with various video editing functions according to the user preferences coded by Zaitun in 2031. According to Razali, Swan and Samad 2018, learning using TikTok is in line with the aspiration of the Malaysian Educational Development Plan for study, which is able to promote independent learning and long-term learning among university students. TikTok is not only used for other things but also good for students to gain knowledge. It is a benefit and opportunity for lecturers and students to use this new technology in education. The idea behind student perceptions on the use of TikTok application is to comprehend the various ways the students interact with TikTok in the context of learning. This concept explores the students' subjective experience, attitudes, and beliefs about using TikTok as a learning tool and related activities. Yelamos Guerra in 2022 found that the use of TikTok application as an educational tool in class shows that students are positively perceived and discover the activity to be very successful and well received. Next, I will further explain regarding our independent variable, which is student perceived feelings. The term student perceived feelings describe the emotional reactions and subjective awareness that students attach to a specific event, circumstance, or setting. Regarding the educational setting, this phrase implies that people feel unique and different feelings connected to their education, the classroom, or particular teaching aids and materials. According to Hopkins, 2023, students who felt more at ease assessed the collaborative technology more positively, as it's found that collaborative platforms are more useful and easier to learn that help students to facilitate their learning. From the student perspective of students' perceived feelings about using TikTok, it was found that students enjoy the media from the previous research of Fabian and Sherfidins in 2023. In the context of educational technology like the TikTok application, the term student perceived feelings refer to the unique subjective feelings that students related to their experience in the classroom. This idea recognizes that each student is an individual with a distinctive emotional reactions to the learning activities they participate in, both positive and negative. Where most participants say TikTok was attractive, inspiring, entertaining, and engaging from the previous research of Fabian and Sherfidin in 2023. Furthermore, the researcher integrates components of the technology acceptance model, which is from the TAM, by Davis in 1989, which suggests that people's opinion regarding the utility and user-friendliness of a technology impact their adoptions and utilizations. The term student perceived effect describes the arbitrary judgments and opinions that students hold about the results, effects, or ramification of a specific educational tool, intervention, or experience. It involves the interpretation made by students of how a particular component, such as a technology, teaching approach, or instructional strategy affects their overall education outcomes, comprehension, and learning process. In a study conducted by Nur Ikhyanis Adnan in 2022, she found that from 105 students, 70 of them preferred to use TikTok as a learning tool to transfer knowledge from audio to graphic representation. They stated that TikTok's music and fun aspect made it more appealing to use than the traditional mind map approach. Students learn differently, and it is important venue for teaching academic information and improving social or emotional well-being, which is quoted by Solomon as in 2021. In contrast to previous research, the present studies finding present a unique viewpoint where students have a strong sense of motivation to construct their identity, express themselves, and obtain social recognition and acclaim by making their own TikTok video, where this was made by the Bahia, Omar, and Dequan in 2022. This is consistent with the claim made by Bahia, Omar, who emphasized the motivational value of students using TikTok and the platform function in promoting identity, building, and self-expression. An effective academic experience is also determined by the student engagement, as the emotional interaction from the teachers with an interactive method such as the use of TikTok application are used to aid the learning process, making the content more interesting but also meaningful. In other words, learning will be more successfully if students are more involved with lessons and the topic they are studying. In a study conducted by Al-Isa, In 2023, the social and motivational theories help us better to understand how the interaction between the teacher and the student affects engagements and performance. As teacher help students achieve their cognitive needs, students become more engaged. For our research framework, we come out with this figure where our dependent variable is the UiTM student perceptions of the use of TikTok application as an educational tool, and our independent variable is perceived feelings, perceived effects, and perceived engagement. Theory of perception. The theory underlying this study is related to the theory of perception that was developed by Montague in 1997. In 2023, the theory of perception was created and implemented by our mother journal, which is by Muhammad Fabian Shah and Shafriandi in their research paper, where the creator of this theory discussed student perception as being measured based on attitude, performance, problem solving, problem difficulty, and the interaction of affect and cognitive in learning. Meanwhile, the theory of perception that has been adapted from the current researcher categorized it into three indicators of student perception, which are student perceived feelings, student perceived effects, and student perceived engagement. There are three hypotheses development that we would like to investigate. Where first is there is a significant relationship between the student perceived feeling and student perceptions of the use of TikTok application. Number two is there is a significant relationship between student perceived effects and students' perceptions of the use of TikTok application. Number three is there is a significant relationship between student perceived engagement and student perceptions of the use of TikTok application.
Hi, my name is Shazwana. So next we move to the methodology. The methodology of this study includes a discussions of the methods applied to the study to analyze UiTM students' perceptions on the use of TikTok application as an educational tool and explanations of the research design, data collection, study population, sample size, sampling techniques, research instrument, and data analysis in this chapter. The type of research we use is quantitative method to explore and understand the correlation between the dependent variable, which is student perceptions on the use of TikTok, and the independent variables, which is students' perceived feelings, students' perceived effects, and students' perceived engagements. Next, the population of the study. The population is the total group we are aiming for. There is a sizable, geographically distributed, and diverse population. According to the website of the UiTM Perlis branch, our campus, in 2023, there will be approximately 6,000 students enrolled at University Technology Mara Perlis. Taking into account all of the faculty members, the official UiTM board located in front of the KIT campus also shows the overall number of students, which stands at 6,000. Move with sample size of the study, we use Crunchy and Morgan table, the number of individuals we include in our sample. There are different sample size calculators and formulas depending on what we want to achieve with statistical analysis. Crunchy and Morgan, 1970, there were 361 respondents determined by the sample size of Crunchy and Morgan, 1970. Measurements of items. The measurements of item in this context refer to the specific tools or instruments used to assess and quantify the four essential components highlighted in the scale. In other words, it involves the methods and questions employed to gather data on students' perceptions, perceived feelings, perceived effects, and perceived engagements. For example, if one of the component's students' perceptions, the measurements item within this component might include questions like: first, how do you perceive your understanding of the subject matter? Second, to what extent do you feel confident in your knowledge of the specific topics covered? Third, can you describe your overall impressions of the subjects being investigated? Last but not least from me, analysis SPSS. The statistical package of social science version 27 will be used for data analysis. SPSS is a widely used software or statistical analysis and data management. It provides a user-friendly interface for performing various tasks and statistical processes such as vector analysis, regression analysis, hypothesis testing, and descriptive statistics. Researchers and data analysts can enter, edit, and clean data and then perform statistical analysis to draw conclusions and gain insights from the data. SPSS is valued for its versatility and user-friendliness, and it is often used in experiments, survey data analysis, and sophisticated statistical modeling applications.
Frequency analysis, we have distributed this questionnaire to a total of 361 individuals across all UiTM ARA students. Nevertheless, only 140 individuals respond to our questionnaire and 221 questionnaires did not return our questionnaire. Based on demographic factor below, for gender, there are 48 male respondents and 92 female respondents, which represent 34.3% and 65.7% from total respondents respectively involved in the survey. This indicates that females are more likely to use TikTok application than males. According to the table above, the largest number of respondents were between the age of 18 and 22 with 70.7%. Besides, out of 140 respondents, 36 respondents were between 23 and 27 years old, 2 respondents were listed between 28 and 32 years old, and 53 and 57 years old respectively, while the least number of respondents were between 33 and 37 years old is 1. Next, the highest level of education among respondents that have Doctor of Philosophy were 1.4%. The largest percentage of respondent education level were bachelor degree, 79.3%, and respondents that have diploma, 10%. In addition, 5.7 respondents have Malaysian Certificate of Education, while for undergraduate master and postgraduate master indicate 2.9% and 0.7%. As shown for the table, the highest marital status of respondents are single, which is under 130 that equal to 92.9%. This is followed by married 5.7% and widower 1.4%. The largest number of respondents is mostly unemployment with 123. There were also 3 respondents that is self-employed. There were also 8 respondents working in the government sector and 6 respondents working in the public sector, representing 5.7% and 4.3% of this survey respectively. In terms of the income respondent, the largest number of respondents they have income level less than 1,000, which is 82.9%. Meanwhile, the number of respondents for income level 11,001 ringgit, 30,000 ringgit, 15,001 ringgit, 17,000 ringgit, 17,001 ringgit, and 19,000 ringgit of this survey is the same, which is 0.7% respectively. The second least income level of 1,001 ringgit and 3,000 ringgit indicate 8 respondents. Next, 4.3% respondents at the income level of 3,001 ringgit until 5,000 ringgit, represent 6 respondents respectively. Based on the demographic profiling, we can see most of the respondents are from Faculty of Business and Management, which is from Bachelor of Business Administration Marketing, 19,003%, Bachelor of Business Administration Finance, 1.4%, and Bachelor of Business Administration Human Resource Management, 21 respondents. The total students from Faculty of Business and Management are 50 respondents out of 140 respondents. Furthermore, second highest respondent is from Faculty of Sport and Recreation, which is from Diploma in Sport and Recreational Management 1.4%, Bachelor of Sport Management 3.6%, Bachelor of Sport Science 8.6%, and Bachelor of Health and Fitness 3.6%. The total out number of respondents from this faculty are 24 respondents. Faculty of Accounting Program, which is Diploma in Accounting Information System, is 3.6%, and form Faculty of Plantation of Agro-Technology indicate only 2 students from Bachelor of Science Agro-Technology, Horticulture Technology 1.4%. At UiTM Campus Arau, Faculty of Applied Science were listed as one of the faculty that provide various programs, and from this survey, 27 respondents were listed from Diploma in Polymer Technology 0.7%, Diploma in Industrial Chemistry 0.7%, Diploma in Science 0.7%, Bachelor of Science Biology 3.6%, Bachelor of Science Physics 4.3%, and 1.4%, respectively, from Bachelor of Science Chemistry with Management and Bachelor of Science Applied Chemistry 5.7%, from Bachelor of Science Marine Technology. Diploma in Geometric Science and ISET full-time student listed as 1 respondent, respectively. In addition, 4 respondents were respectively indicated in the program Bachelor of Surveying Science and Geometric, Diploma in Computer Science, Diploma in Mathematical Science, and Bachelor of Information Technology, respectively. Meanwhile, for program 1.4% from Bachelor of Science Management Mathematics and Bachelor of Computer Science, Nicentric Computing, respectively. 13 respondents full-time is from Institute of Continuing Education and Professional Studies. Last but not least, most of the respondents spend at least 3 and 4 hours every day on TikToks, where it was the highest percentage of most respondent answers. Only 1 respondent spent at least 1 and 2 hours and 9 hours above, respectively, on TikTok daily. 3 and 2 respondents were TikTok daily at 5 and 6 hours and 7 and 8 hours, respectively. Descriptive analysis for the variable gender, there were 140 respondents with value coded as 1 and 2. The mean of 1.66 suggests that the average gender value is closer to 2. The standard deviation of 0.476 indicates the extent of variability in the gender values, with the range spanning from 1 to 2. Similarly, for age, the 140 respondents had age ranging from 1 to 8, with a mean of 1.41 and a standard deviation of 0.81. The largest standard deviation suggests a broader spread of age. The variable education level show a mean of 2.87 and range from 1 to 6, and a standard deviation of 0.708. For material status, work and income, the mean values are 1.09, 1.26, and 1.49, respectively. Each of these variables has a specific range and standard deviation, providing insight into the distribution and variability within these categories. The program variable has a largest range from 1 to 31 and a higher standard deviation, 8.604, indicating greater variability in the reported programs. Finally, Variable how many hours did you use TikTok daily has a mean of 2.35 and range from 1 to 5 and a standard deviation of 1.144. Reliability analysis. All factors including independent and dependent variables were determined to be dependable with result existing zero point 0.7. The cross-by alpha result for dependent variable, which are student perception, are acceptable with 0.861 followed by independent variable, which is student perceived feeling with 0.826, student perceived effect with 0.899, and student perceived engagement is 0.839. Correlation analysis. Independent variable 1, student perceived feelings. There was a positive correlation between student perceived feelings and student perception on the use of TikTok application. The result of Pearson correlation show a very strong relationship. Next, independent variable 2, student perceived effect. There was a positive correlation between student perceived effect and student perception on the use of TikTok application. The result of Pearson correlation show a strong relationship. Furthermore, independent variable 3, student perceived engagement. There was a positive correlation between student perceived engagement and student perception on the use of TikTok application. The result of Pearson correlation shows strong relationship. Regression analysis. According to ANOVA test on independent variables, it clearly shows that they are statistically significant between independent variables because the p-value shows 0.00, that's below 0.05, by which was significant with dependent variables. Hence, there are significant differences between student perceived feelings, student perceived effect, and student perceived engagement. Based on the coefficient table above, it illustrates that there is a relationship between independent variables and dependent variables. The beta value below unstandardized coefficient are representing of a relationship between variables of the study as a positive or negatively terms. As a result, shows in the table, it's clearly stated student perceived feelings, student perceived effect, and student perceived engagement has positive relationship with student perception on the use of TikTok application. This study was examined at a 5% level of significance to determine whether there is a relevant relationship between variables. According to the decision rules, if the p-value is less than 0.5, reject the null hypothesis, indicating that there is a significant link between the variables in the study. In overview, the above result shows that the p-value for the student perceived feelings and student perceived engagement indicate that the null hypothesis will be rejected because both independent variable p-values are less than 0.05. Next, student perceived effect indicate that the null hypothesis will be accepted because the independent variable p-value are more than 0.05.
Okay, I will continue explain this chapter. This chapter will present the outcome of the study that has been concluded. Student perception on the use of TikTok application is playing an important role in enhancing the equity such as student perceived feeling, student perceived effect, and student perceived engagement. The primary goals of the study is to ascertain if the dependent variable and dependent variable are correlated such as reliability, tangibility, empathy, and responsiveness. In addition, the outcome of the study will be concluded, the recommendation will be provided. Okay. In discussion, We have 3 points that discussed at this part. Firstly, student perception and student perception. Student perception had shown a positive relationship and significantly affected student perception on the use of TikTok. Students who feel more is as the collaborative technology more positively as it's found that collaborative platforms are more useful and easier to learn that help students to facilitate their learning. Secondly is student perceived effect and student perception. Student perceived effect had shown a positive relationship and significantly affected student perception on the use of TikTok. This is consistent with the claim made by Bahia Omar and Dikwan at 2020, who emphasized the motivational value of students using TikTok and platform function in promoting identify, building and self-impression. Last but not least, student perceived engagement and student perception. Student perceived engagement had shown a positive relationship and significantly affected student perception on the use of TikTok. Student perspective or the useful of TikTok content are also relevant. They are not to think of it is to be suitable for educational usage because they primarily view this platform as educational uses because they are primarily view this platform as source of enjoyment. Okay, we have 3 points that we can recommendation in this research. Firstly, knowledge TikTok as a entertaining and social learning tools. According to the article, students view TikTok as sociable and fun. It is advised that English lecturers take note of this factor and make use of them to boost their student interest. In short form, video on TikTok are well known for being imaginative, funny, and visually attractive. Secondly is encourage students to engage the TikTok content. Lecturers recommend to encourage students actively participate with TikTok content because the study demonstrate that kids find the platform stimulating and love using it. In addition to watching and copy video, this activity might involve using TikTok as watching copies video. This activity might involve using TikTok as a speaking practice platform. One venue of honing speaking abilities is TikTok. Okay. Last but not least is promote interaction with foreigner. According to the article, people make the pronunciation of word in TikTok video before attempt to converse with a foreigner on websites like Omegle TV in order to increase student enthusiasm and provide them practically language practice. Teachers should promote this kind of practice and changes. Okay, the next part is suggestion for future research. Firstly is focusing on social media. Researchers is a future can look into social and psychological effect of extended use of social media. Additional, look into how society and cultural factors affect how decisions are made. The second is improving the online learning platform and virtual classroom. Researchers can research the effectiveness of online learning platform and virtual classroom by investigate the impact of emerging technologies such as AI, virtual reality on education. Researchers can also explore strategy to bridge the digital device in education. Last is future researcher is to focus on designing methodology and perform cost benefit evaluation. Future researchers carry out study to devise methodology and perform a comprehensive cost-benefit evaluation of public participant research will be advantage. Conducting multiple long-term study measure to affect the public involvement on the key indicators into a clinical trial participant recruitment and retention will be benefit despite methodology changes involved. In conclusion, the study explored the complex terrain of your STM student opinion about incorporating of TikTok as teaching resource in Malaysia. It was based on responses from 140 participants out of 361 questionnaire distributed. Reliability and validity tests were conducted as a part of a comprehensive analysis of primary data gathered to guarantee the accuracy of information. In addition, the different factors pertaining to student overall perception with TikTok as educational tools are identified by factor analysis. Through correlation analysis, strong positive correlation between these factors were found, highlighting the connection between student feeling, perception, and interaction with TikTok. The significance of study students' perceived feeling, effect, and engagement in predict their overall perception. TikTok educational utility was confirmed by the multiple regression analysis that follow.